women empowerment from Swami Vivekananda to Vethathiri Maharishi.
Recording in progress.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். Women's empowerment by Vivekanand and Maharishi. Recently, the International Women's Day was celebrated with all pomp and grandeur all over the world. Even in India, every man sang the laurels of the women in his life, from mother to wife to sister and others, and took a pledge to uphold women's rights, freedom, and values. Then it all disappeared probably into the sky, just like the morning dew as the sun rose the next morning. In this background, let us see how Maharishi and Swamiji Vivekananda have striven to educate the masses about the greatness of women and the need to make them part of the mainstream in two different centuries. You may be wondering as to why should I link Maharishi and Vivekananda ji all of a sudden. It is because it was Swami Vivekananda who had predicted more than 100 years ago about the coming up of a temple of consciousness and the sky system. Unbelievable, isn't it? Yes, it is indeed true. Just listen to Swamiji's speech about this. This 1 minute short clipping is in Tamil, but I will tell you the English meaning after the audio is played. Just hold on. Give me a minute.
விவேகானந்தர் 100 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன்னதாக அவர் எங்கேயோ ஒரு பேசுற இடத்துல சொல்லியிருக்காரு. இன்னும் ஒரு காலத்துல 100 ஆண்டுக்குள்ளாக தென்னாட்டுல ஒரு பகுதி அந்த குக்கிராமமாகவே இருக்கும். அங்கே ஒரு மையம் அமையும். அறிவு கோயில் என்ற மையம் அமையும். அங்க அறிவை பற்றியே இந்த விக்கிரக ஆராதனை முதலையெல்லாம் தள்ளி அறிவை பற்றியே போதனை செய்யக்கூடிய சாதனை மன்றமாக இருக்கும். அது மாத்திரம் இல்லை, அங்க உணர்ந்தவர்கள் எல்லாம் நிறைய இருப்பாங்க. மாஸ்டர் பயிற்சி, ஆசிரியர்கள் உருவாக்கக்கூடிய பயிற்சிகளும் அங்க அழிக்க போறாங்க. விவேகானந்தர் 100
Okay, let me give you a rough translation of this speech in Tamil. Swamiji says that it was Vivekananda who had said more than 100 years ago in one of his speeches that the first temple of consciousness would come up in a small town in southern India, which would focus only on teaching about wisdom or knowledge, and which will impart training in preparing masters on this knowledge. What a visionary he was. Makes me get goosebumps when I think about this. Vivekananda attained Samadhi in 1902 and Maharishi was born in 1911. Then, I leave it to your imagination to figure out if Vivekananda's soul had later on entered Swamiji's soul or not. Now let us start with Vivekanandji and see how some of his thoughts and quotes on women and women empowerment were very similar to Swamiji's. Swami Vivekananda's quotes on Indian women, these are as follows. 1. The best thermometer to the progress of a nation is its treatment to its women. 2. The idea of perfect womanhood is perfect independence. 3. Educate your women first and leave them to themselves. Then they will tell you what reforms are necessary for them. There is no chance for the welfare of the world unless the condition of women is improved. It is not possible for a bird to fly on only one wing. What a powerful statement is this. 5. Is there any sex distinction in the Atman or self? Out with the differentiation between man and woman. All are Atman. 6. The great Aryans, Buddha among the rest, have always put women in an equal position with man. For them, sex in religion did not exist. In the Vedas and Upanishads, women taught the highest truths and received the same veneration as men. 7. There is no hope for that family or country where there is no estimation of women, where they live in sadness. For this reason, they have to be raised first. 8. Women will work out their destinies much better too than men can ever do for them. All the mischief to women has come because men undertook to shape the destiny of women without involving them. I repeat this very important statement. All the mischief to women has come because men undertook to shape the destiny of women. 9. The natural ambition of women is through marriage to climb up, leaning upon a man. But those days are gone, says Vivekanand 100 years ago. You shall be great without the help of any man, just as you are. 10. And the last point. With 500 men, the conquest of India might take 50 years. With as many women, not more than a few weeks. Unfortunately, we do not have 500 women involved in freedom struggle, so it took us much longer. Unfortunately, Vivekanand died very young and hence could not implement these measures in his lifetime. But our Maharishi, through his introspection and the thorough knowledge of the status of women in his lifetime, has given the teachings about how women are not equal but are the special creation of God. Let us now spend a few minutes in seeing how Swamiji has given a systematic approach to women's empowerment and in bettering their lives and happiness. Swamiji has strived to educate the masses not only about the greatness of women, but has gone one step further to emphasize the great role played by any woman as a wife and mother, and how she is the fulcrum in maintaining harmony in family's life. But above all, he is the first and perhaps the only one in the world to declare a wife's appreciation day and dedicate Anne Logambar's birthday as that day every year, so as to keep reminding all the husbands to be grateful to their spouses. Why is a woman great? Swamiji says that nature has specifically chosen the women and given them the ability and responsibility to procreate, as it found only them to be suitable for this humongous task. 1 second. Secondly, all men are born of women and nurtured by them. Both men and women are the gifts of nature to mankind. Bringing up children when they are very young has been the primary responsibility of the mother. This is why they are not superior, equal, or less, but are special, as Swamiji puts it. However, Swamiji is greatly pained to observe the injustice meted out to women by the society by treating them as second-class citizens. For example, in many societies, women still lack equal rights to property. In the ancient text of Manusmriti, Manu wrote, a woman's father protects her in childhood, her husband protects her in youth, and her sons protect her in the old age. A woman is never fit for independence. How cruel and cruel. However, women were not always excluded from inheriting movable or immovable property from ancestral and marital families, but the proportion of share in the property was far less than that of their male counterparts. Though the equal right clause was included in the succession law in 1956, full rights to daughters in ancestral property was restored only in 2005, and all appeals against this law were squashed by the Supreme Court very recently in 2020. Once a daughter, always a daughter, son is a son till he is married, said Justice Arun Kumar Mishra, who was heading the bench, delivering the judgment in 2020, highlighting the welcome change in the mindset of the society. Daughters must be given equal right as son. A daughter remains a loving daughter throughout life, Mishra pronounced. Swamiji used to lament the high female infanticide in India. He used to say that India is the only large country in the world where prenatal determination of the gender of the fetus was banned in 1994. This had to be done in order to prevent the atrocious population from committing female infanticide due to stupid reasons which are not valid anymore. Unfortunately, even China had to introduce this ban from 2016 for the same reason. The world is moving backwards sometimes. Again, unfortunately, the greatness of women has so far been understood only by a few people who are really developed in spiritual knowledge. The majority of mankind, however, fails to realize the fortune provided by nature through womanhood. Nature is the self-developed architect in the process of evolution of the universe. It has formed beautiful objects and wonderful living beings with marvelous attributes. That same architect, the Almighty, has entrusted the production and maintenance of all human beings to women. It is therefore only curious that man, who is endowed with the greatest of universal treasures, which is the sixth sense, is still not able to recognize the greatness of women. And this is so despite the great intellectual advancement in this scientific computer age. Ages ago, the land space of our globe consisted of mountainous terrain that emerged from the water. Early human beings had to contend with wild animals and existed in a state of danger. As a result, the male of the species acquired a certain degree of superiority. In the beginning, the authority of men and the meekness and humility of women were born of love and affection alone. The situation changed drastically over time, and today, with the aid of instruments and machinery, women are men's equals in almost every area of work. Of course, in some areas, women cannot undergo as much physical effort as men. This is because of the structure of the female physical system, which was designed by nature to house the embryo and give birth to children. If only men would keep in mind the fact that the entire human race has been given birth to by women alone, it will help them realize the greatness of women. It is sad that even now, when there is such strident assertion on equality of caste, creeds, and rights, women is considered less than equal to men, whether a woman is a mother, a sister, wife, or daughter. Swamiji says that he is explaining this only to raise the level of consciousness of the whole mankind so that better justice may be rendered to women. The sky system and karma yoga provide a total perspective of knowledge covering all areas of life, and so we should not neglect the understanding of this subject. Industrial laws, inheritance, and legislation have all been weighted against women for centuries. Women have been kept out of spiritual practices as well. Even now, this injustice continues. The reason for this is that all the laws are framed by the men alone. We cannot blame any individual or group for these prejudicial measures. Time, place, and environmental conditions forced humanity to follow certain principles in life. Then, habit and sentimental concepts subjected women to humiliation. These became a ritualistic dogma, with no one wanting to break away from outdated and purposeless rituals. Now that we are in a scientific computer age, the age of awareness, reasoning, and justice, we have the duty to rectify these errors and injustice so that we may ensure better living for all. According to the sky system of Karma Yoga, there is no sinner or criminal, says Swamiji. Sin or crime is a result of hereditary imprints carried over several generations and environmental conditions of society. We have to think, understand, and bring about a new method of living for all people. We can do this by erasing previous wrongs through the process of superimposition and by leading a better life in the future. Every individual in the family should understand these important points and erase past wrongs by according equal status to women in the family without any hesitation or reservation. Changing one's habits and sentimental concepts by introspection and superimposition is, of course, a rather difficult task for man. This is because the flow of life current along the channel of habit is easy and calls for no special exertion. As we have discussed, even after one realizes that particular habit is wrong or unjust, one prefers not to change. But wisdom consists in freeing oneself from the shackles of the past. So, a determined effort must now be made to bring about a change in the social attitude toward women. The constitution of every country should be amended wherever necessary in order to accord equal status for women. Special privileges should be allowed suitable to their physical structure. This is what Swamiji has to say. With the advent of new skills like robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., the 21st century women are better placed to equal or surpass their male counterparts in the corporate sphere too. Companies have started to come out of the taboo mindset and have started to give same weightage to female and male candidates while hiring even in India. Maharishi says that as a gesture of good faith in parliamentary democracies, 50% of the seats in the legislature should be reserved for women. Currently, it is supposed to be 33% in India, but still, we have been able to reach the highest number of only 14% women MPs in the Lok Sabha, and that too only in 2021. If more sincere steps are taken by the society, the equality of women with men should become a reality in a decade or so. This will produce harmony and balance in the social setup. This is a very important duty of man toward womankind. With more women in the parliament in every nation, the urge to wage war between nations at the drop of a hat will disappear totally. This itself will help to promote world peace sooner than later. May the women of all societies and countries enjoy equality, greater freedom and power soon. May the whole world thus begin to enjoy greater prosperity, happiness, and peace. வாழ்க வளமுடன். Abjay Samrit. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.
I request Vidyadharan sir to propose the blessings, to give the blessings to the speakers.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். Be blessed by the divine. Abjay Samrat. We'll bless the professors who have conducted today's session. First, we'll bless Assistant Professor Manivandan sir. Assistant Professor Manivandan sir and his health வாழ்க வளமுடன். Assistant Professor Manivan sir and his family, வாழ்க வளமுடன். Assistant Professor Manivan sir and his spiritual service, வாழ்க வளமுடன். Now we'll bless